It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. Those words strike like steel across centuries, because they expose the truth you already know, but hesitate to admit. Your reputation is not decided in open daylight. It is shaped in whispers, in closed rooms, in casual remarks repeated when you are not present. Every society, from ancient Rome to today's digital feeds, runs on these unseen exchanges. You are living inside a war that rarely declares itself. You are measured not by the facts of your life, but by the narrative constructed around you, and if you do not seize that narrative, it will be seized against you. In the Roman Senate, entire careers were destroyed, not by swords, but by rumors. A whispered accusation of corruption, a suggestion of disloyalty, even a raised eyebrow at the wrong moment could turn allies into enemies. Centuries later, the same dynamic unfolds online. Social media is not neutral. It is an algorithmic battlefield. Every like, share, and screenshot is a soldier deployed in a larger war of framing. A clipped video, a phrase torn from context, can spread faster than truth ever will. Cancel culture, trending hashtags, and viral gossip operate as siege engines, hammering at the walls of your reputation until cracks appear. The lesson is timeless. The war of whispers is more decisive than the clash of weapons. Imagine your reputation as a fortress. The banners may fly high above the walls, but the true danger comes from tunnels dug beneath. Gossip and rumor are spies slipping through the cracks unseen until it is too late. If you sit passively waiting to be defended by truth alone, your fortress will fall. You must think like a commander under siege. Patrol the walls of perception, cut off enemy supply lines, and ensure your own soldiers, your words, your actions, your allies are loyal and disciplined. Every careless phrase is a loose stone in the wall. Every silence in the face of slander is a breach left unguarded. Your task is not to eliminate gossip. That is impossible, but to make yourself unassailable in its presence. Speak with precision. Do not hand your rivals a weapon by indulging in overexposure. When confronted with rumors, respond with calm authority. Picture yourself in a meeting where someone hints at your supposed weakness. You do not flinch. You do not protest loudly. You simply redirect with composure, asserting facts without begging for validation. In that moment, you have denied the enemy their advantage. You have shown others that whispers break like waves against rock. The battlefield of perception rewards those who act with clarity and discipline. Stop thinking of reputation as passive. Stop believing truth will always prevail. Treat every interaction as part of the war for your throne. When you master this awareness, you will see how others stumble, speaking too quickly, defending too desperately, offering their own credibility as sacrifices. You will not make that mistake. You will guard your fortress, hold your ground, and direct the war rather than merely survive it. Command perception, or be commanded. Your mind is a throne room, and every thought, impulse, and insecurity is a courtier demanding your attention. If you allow disorder in that inner court, you lose authority before you even step into the external arena. Power begins with ruling yourself. The ruler who cannot command silence in his own mind cannot hope to command respect in the world outside. History shows this clearly. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, faced war, plague, and betrayal, yet his writings reveal relentless discipline over his own mind. He did not indulge every emotion. He trained his thoughts like soldiers, giving them formation and order. Napoleon, long before commanding armies, mastered his memory and concentration, exercising inner control that later allowed him to outthink rivals on the battlefield. Self-rule always precedes outer rule. In your daily life, the enemies of order are not foreign generals, but internal biases acting as traitors within the court. Confirmation bias blinds you to inconvenient truths. Social comparison whispers that you are less than others. Self-sabotage convinces you to delay, to hesitate, to doubt. These are not harmless tendencies. They are spies within your fortress. Left unchecked, they weaken your walls, and when external attacks come, gossip, criticism, betrayal, your defenses collapse from the inside. You must learn to name these biases as you would name traitors, expose their patterns, and refuse them the throne. Treat every undisciplined thought as a whisper against your sovereignty. Do not argue with it. Command it. Replace "I can't" with "I choose." Replace "what if I fail" with "what is my next move." Weak, I'll try to stay calm. Strong, I will stay calm. Weak, I hope they respect me. Strong, I conduct myself with respect. Language is the decree of your inner monarch. Issue decrees that strengthen, not weaken your authority. Now picture the coronation of your mind. Imagine entering your inner hall where doubts, impulses, and fears stand like restless nobles. They whisper, they plot, they compete for attention. You silence them with one act, declaring yourself sovereign. You sit on the throne, not them. You decide which thought speaks, which is exiled, which serves in loyalty. This is not fantasy. It is daily practice. Every time you resist reacting with anger, every time you interrupt a spiral of envy, every time you replace a weak phrase with a strong command, you place the crown firmly on your head. The more often you do it, the more natural it becomes. You stop being a prisoner of your mind and become its ruler. The cost of neglecting this coronation is high. Without order, your inner court leaks weakness. Your rivals sense it. A single careless outburst, a defensive reaction, a visible insecurity. These are cracks in the wall through which enemies slip. But when your inner court is disciplined, you radiate composure. In a disagreement, when someone raises their voice or tries to bait you, you remain steady. You do not match noise with noise. You pause, you look directly at them, and you answer with calm precision. Authority is established not by the loudest voice, but by the one who controls his own tone. Your first victory must always be inward. Govern your court with discipline. Unmask your biases and strip them of influence. Issue strong decrees with your words. Conduct your coronation daily until sovereignty is reflexed. Then, and only then, will you walk into the world, not as a servant of your impulses, but as the monarch of your own perception. Rule yourself, or be ruled. The morning is a battlefield, and the first clash begins the moment you open your eyes. Victory or defeat is not decided at noon when the noise of the world has already surrounded you. It is determined in the quiet hours before the enemy awakens. If you enter those hours with chaos, you will be reacting all day. If you seize them with strategy, you will command the narrative long before others have even drawn their weapons. Power begins in the first hour, when the mind is sharp, the world is silent, and you are either a commander or a captive. History is filled with leaders who understood this principle. Napoleon rose before dawn, issuing orders and revising plans, while rivals were still asleep. He treated the morning as the high ground in war. Whoever held it dictated the terms of engagement. Roman generals drilled their troops at first light, sharpening discipline while enemies slumbered. Even in modern times, many executives and military officers protect the early hours as sacred. They train, they plan, they write, because they know that clarity forged in silence multiplies into strength during conflict. The discipline of dawn has always separated rulers from the ruled. In your own life, the enemy does not march with banners. It arrives in your pocket the moment you reach for your phone. Notifications, gossip, news, and algorithmic traps form an ambush. By touching that screen before you have secured your focus, you allow rival commanders, advertisers, influencers, critics to dictate your first thoughts. It is like opening the gates of your fortress to enemy scouts before your guards have taken position. Each ping fractures your attention. Each headline sets the frame of your day. If you surrender at sunrise, you spend the rest of the day on defense. The countermeasure is simple but ruthless. Secure your first hour as your war room. Rise with purpose. Do not check the siege engines at your gates. Instead, walk into the chamber of strategy. Sit in silence and map your day as a general would draw his lines on a battlefield. Identify the decisive engagement, the one task that, if won, makes other victories easier. Guard it with walls of priority. Anticipate ambushes, distractions, provocations, petty arguments, and prepare responses before they strike. This is where self-mastery turns into outer command. You fight the war in rehearsal, so when it arrives in reality, you are already positioned for advantage. Imagine this scene. You stand in your war room at dawn. The world still dark, the air still quiet. Before you lies a map, not of territory but of time. Each hour is a province, each task a stronghold. You place your banners where you will advance. You reinforce the flanks with discipline, and you decide which fronts you will ignore entirely. Outside your fortress walls, rivals sleep, unaware that their day is already being shaped by your decisions. By the time they wake, you have already claimed the high ground. Do not confuse this with perfection or rigidity. It is not about waking at an extreme hour or following someone else's ritual blindly. It is about claiming the throne of your mind before the crowd storms in. It is about building armor before arrows start flying. One leader may run, another may read, another may write, but the constant is sovereignty. You command the terms, you set the frame, you establish the narrative. When gossip arises later, when challenges appear, you are not scrambling. You are anchored in the victory you seized at dawn. Guard your mornings with the vigilance of a king, protecting his crown. Do not allow spies, distractions, gossip, digital noise to enter your chamber before you are prepared. Decide, plan, and act with clarity before the world wakes. Each morning won is a campaign secured. Each morning lost is a fortress surrendered. Win the morning, win the war. Stillness is not weakness. It is the cloak that conceals power until the exact moment of strike. In a world where people rush to speak, post, and react, silence unsettles them more than any outburst. A pause is not emptiness, it is pressure. Machiavelli warned that men are quick to forget, and in that forgetting lies opportunity. Sun Tzu taught that the supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting, and nothing subdues faster than a controlled silence that forces others to reveal themselves. Throughout history, restraint has toppled more opponents than rage. In courts of law, the advocate who pauses after a loaded question forces the jury to lean in, to fill the gap with their own conclusions. In political debates, the leader who refuses to interrupt gains authority simply by waiting for rivals to overextend. Even in negotiations, silence draws out hidden motives, because most cannot endure the discomfort. The pause is not passive. It is a weapon sharpened by discipline. You must learn to use it as a commander uses terrain, to funnel enemies into exposing weaknesses. The modern battlefield makes silence even more lethal. Social media is built on noise, where rapid response is rewarded, but also exploited. Every quick reply, every reactive post, hands ammunition to rivals. A deliberate non-post, a delayed response, or the choice to remain unreadable denies enemies a clear target. When gossip spreads, your absence from the noise shifts the frame. People wonder why you have not spoken. They speculate, That speculation is power. Silence allows you to control not through addition, but through subtraction. You remove oxygen from the fire, and rumors often collapse under their own weight. Imagine yourself as a predator in tall grass. The herd panics, runs, and stumbles, exposing its weakest. You do not move until the moment guarantees success. Stillness is not inaction, it is camouflage. You are hidden, watching, conserving energy, while others exhaust themselves. When the strike comes, it is decisive, because it was prepared by patience. This is how silence works in social battles. It forces others to play their cards first while you remain unreadable. They reveal insecurity, they overtalk, they contradict themselves. Then, when you finally speak, your words land with disproportionate weight. There will be times when someone provokes you directly, seeking reaction. Picture a colleague making a sly remark in front of others. Weak response. You defend yourself immediately, explaining, justifying, and appearing rattled. Strong response. You pause, meet their eyes, and say with measured calm, "Noted." The room shifts. They expected noise. You gave me a stone. That silence carries authority they cannot match. It tells everyone that you cannot be baited into playing a game on their terms. The command is clear: stop reacting instantly. Train yourself to hold silence as a weapon. Delay posting until the emotion has cooled. Pause before answering a loaded question. Withhold your position until rivals expose theirs. Speak only when the silence has amplified your words into something greater than noise. Those who master stillness never appear desperate, never appear rushed, and never surrender the advantage of mystery. In a war of noise, the predator cloaked in silence always wins. Restrained to reign. Whispers are not harmless. They are daggers concealed in shadows, striking long before you see the hand that holds them. Every king in history has learned the same lesson: allow rumor networks to grow unchecked, and your throne is already under siege. Authority is not destroyed in grand battles, but in the small corridors where secrets trade hands. If you want to command respect, you must cut gossip at the root, before it undermines the fortress of your reputation. History offers brutal clarity. Roman emperors, who tolerated whisperers within their courts, often found themselves betrayed. Julius Caesar, warned of conspiracies, failed to eliminate them fully, and paid with his life. On the other hand, leaders who acted decisively against hidden cliques secured their power for years. The lesson is not cruelty, but clarity. Authority cannot coexist with networks designed to weaken it. Machiavelli observed that suspicion, when ignored, allows rivals to grow bold. The wise ruler identifies whisperers early, isolates them, and removes their influence completely. Ruthlessness here is not excess, it is survival. In modern life, the whisperers no longer gather in palace halls, they gather in your feed. The tunnels beneath your fortress are built of group chats, comment threads, and toxic accounts that drip poison into your attention daily. Every careless scroll exposes you to subtle attacks: envy disguised as advice, gossip disguised as news, and distraction disguised as entertainment. Left unchecked, these streams shape how you think and how others think of you. Digital hygiene is not optional. It is the purge your sovereignty requires. Unfollow voices that corrode focus. Block those who bait you into endless arguments. Mute sources of chaos. Curate an environment where only loyal courtiers, trusted sources, disciplined mentors, and constructive allies are allowed in the chamber of your perception. Weak: I have to see what they're saying. Strong: I choose what enters my mind. Weak: I can't block them, it looks rude. Strong: I protect my focus without apology. The difference is sovereignty. Picture your fortress at night. Beneath the stones, tunnels snake into your walls, where spies and traitors pass messages unseen. Each rumor that travels through them is a breach. Now imagine setting those tunnels aflame. One by one, you collapse the passages, torch the entry points, and cut the lines of infiltration. This is what it means to dismantle gossip at its source. You do not waste time chasing every rumor. You destroy the channels that carry them. When others realize there is no path for poison to reach you, the effort of slander loses value. Your fortress stands, untouched by whispers, because the very ground beneath has been cleansed. You will face moments where someone tries to involve you directly, offering gossip as bait. They expect curiosity. They expect you to lean in, to ask for more, to become complicit. Instead, you hold the throne with composure. You answer with a calm boundary. I don't entertain whispers. If it matters, speak openly. The room shifts. The spy network collapses at that moment because you refuse to fund it with your attention. Authority grows, not from knowing every secret, but from making clear that you cannot be ruled by them. Elimination is not cruelty. It is discipline. It is the art of protecting your court from corrosion. Cut the tunnels, burn the networks, purge the noise, guard the fortress of your reputation with vigilance, because once the whisperers settle inside, they are almost impossible to remove. Silence the traitors, secure the crown. Power is theater as much as it is action. The throne is not held by force alone, but by the mask you wear before others. People do not see your intentions, they see your posture, your expression, your control. Authority is projection. If your mask cracks, your authority falters. If your mask holds, your presence becomes untouchable, and whispers lose their strength against you. Generals throughout history understood this. Alexander projected composure even when outnumbered. His soldiers took courage not only from his strategy, but from his unshaken demeanor. In Rome, Augustus cultivated a careful image of moderation and stability, while behind the scenes he maneuvered ruthlessly. Leaders in every era wore masks that concealed weakness and projected inevitability. Even modern executives and heads of state rehearse every gesture, every pause, every expression, because they know their authority rests on more than decisions. It rests on perception. Machiavelli advised rulers to appear merciful, faithful, humane, and religious, even when circumstances required the opposite. The mask was not deception, it was strategy. Your daily battles demand the same precision. Nonverbal signaling is your armor in rooms where words are not enough. Straight posture communicates command. Eye contact projects presence. Calm hands and measured tone silence doubts before they are voiced. Weak. I think this might work. Strong. This is the move we are making. Weak. Maybe we should consider. Strong. Here is the direction. Even online, your mask matters. The photos you share, the tone of your posts, the timing of your responses, they frame you as decisive or desperate, sovereign or scrambling. A sloppy display gives rivals ammunition. A controlled display makes you appear inevitable, and inevitability is more powerful than charm. Picture donning the iron mask each morning. It does not erase your humanity, it disciplines it. Behind the mask, you may wrestle with doubt, but no rival will see that doubt bleed into your bearing. When gossip spreads, when eyes turn to you, the mask ensures you do not flinch. You speak with calm authority, and in that steadiness the rumor dies. You carry yourself as if nothing could pierce your composure. Over time, people stop testing you because they sense the futility of trying to shake someone who does not reveal cracks. There will be moments when you are challenged directly. Imagine someone questioning your decision in a meeting, their tone sharp, expecting you to defend yourself nervously. Weak response, rushing to explain, over-talking, betraying irritation. Strong response, holding a pause, then stating, "The course is set, let's move forward." Your tone steady, your gaze unwavering. You do not fight their challenge with noise, you smother it with certainty. In that moment, the mask of command does its work. Others follow not because you argued more, but because you embodied more control. The mask of command is not falsehood. It is discipline. It is the choice to present your authority without leakage, to ensure that doubt remains inside while respect radiates outside. Put it on before you step into any arena. Wear it until it becomes natural. Let every gesture, every word, every pause reinforce the armor of your authority. Those who learn this art become untouchable, not because they never face attack, but because no attack can pierce the mask. Wear the mask, hold the throne. The most dangerous enemy you face is not always outside your walls. It often begins within, as hesitation, as excuses, as narratives whispered into your mind that weaken your resolve before rivals even move against you. The ruler who cannot detect and silence these inner plots will be defeated without ever entering battle. Authority begins with preemption, neutralizing threats before they mature into crises. History shows the cost of hesitation. Courts and kingdoms have been undone, not by open rebellion, but by intrigues allowed to grow unchecked. Machiavelli warned that it is far safer to strike a conspiracy before it gains momentum than to wait until it has too many supporters. Strong rulers understood this. They identified discontent early, cut alliances forming against them, and moved with decisive speed. In politics, waiting for proof often meant waiting until it was too late. Preemption preserved the throne. The same principle applies in your daily battles. Delay in confronting weakness or rumor only gives it time to entrench itself. In the modern arena, preemption takes the form of framing. If you do not set the story first, others will set it for you. A rival may question your competence. If you remain silent or defensive, their version becomes the accepted one. But if you step forward early, introducing your own frame, clear, confident, precise, you leave no space for hostile narratives to take root. This is not arrogance. It is a strategic initiative, a well-timed statement. A deliberate action or even a concise clarification turns you into the source of authority rather than the subject of speculation. Weak. I hope they don't misunderstand me. Strong. I define my stance before anyone else has the chance. Weak. I'll wait and see what people say. Strong. I move first, so others must react. Visualize the inner assassin at work. He moves silently through the corridors of your mind, seeking out vulnerabilities, procrastination, insecurity, excuses. When he finds them, he eliminates them quickly and without spectacle. You must learn to do the same. When you sense hesitation, cut it down with decisive action. When you notice self-doubt, counter it with a strong directive. When you catch yourself rehearsing failure, replace it with a plan of execution. This assassin is not cruel. He is disciplined. His blade is self-control, sharp enough to sever weakness before it matures into sabotage. Consider a practical example. A colleague questions your preparedness in front of others, framing you as careless. Weak response. I'll explain later. I wasn't ready today. Strong response. I anticipated this point. Here are the figures. By acting first, you close the door to their attack. You transform the narrative from weakness into foresight. This is how the inner assassin works externally as well. Preempt, prepare, and strike before others have the chance to define you. The command is simple. Do not wait for plots. internal or external, to grow. Eliminate hesitation before it spreads. Frame yourself before others frame you. Strike weaknesses at the root with decisive, disciplined action. The throne is not secured by reaction. It is secured by silent preemption. Kill weakness before it breathes. Influence is never carried by your words alone. It spreads through the voices of others, and whether those voices defend or destroy you depends on how deliberately you cultivate them. Authority is not a solo act. It is a chorus, and the wise leader ensures the chorus repeats his message with loyalty. In every kingdom, rulers secured their thrones not just by armies, but by patronage networks, courtiers, allies, and informants who carried their story into rooms where they themselves could not stand. When emperors rewarded loyalty with access and resources, they built circles of whisperers who countered enemy slander with constant reinforcement of the ruler's chosen image. This was not mere friendship, it was structured allegiance, a disciplined network that carried the crown's narrative like a chain of messengers. Without such networks, even the strongest kings were outmaneuvered by rumor. With them, gossip often died before it reached the throne. In modern life, the courtiers are not senators or palace guards, but micro-influencers, colleagues and loyal allies who amplify your reputation. They may be small in reach compared to powerful figures, but their consistency and loyalty make them invaluable. When someone tries to frame you negatively, these allies step in, reframing the story before it gains momentum. They defend you not because you ordered them to, but because you invested in them first, with respect, recognition, or value. A loyal ally can do more to protect your reputation than any self-defense. This principle applies even in digital spaces. If you cultivate a small but loyal circle that knows your values, they will carry your narrative when rivals attempt to distort it. Weak: I'll just defend myself if attacked. Strong: I train allies so I never fight alone. Visualize this network as a wolf pack. Alone, a wolf can be strong, but a pack is unstoppable because every member knows its role. Your narrative, like the scent of prey, moves through them with precision. Each ally picks it up, reinforces it, and passes it on. They cover blind spots you cannot see, and they strike at rumors before they grow into threats. This pack does not form by chance. It forms because you feed it through loyalty, through trust, through clear alignment. When wolves trust their leader, they do not scatter at the first sign of conflict. They close ranks, they defend, and they hunt in unison. To command such loyalty, you must act with clarity. Support those who support you. Recognize those who speak in your favor. Share value before asking for it. Build a reputation for rewarding loyalty, not exploiting it. Over time, people learn that standing with you elevates them, while betraying you carries no benefit. In this way, your influence multiplies through others, and your rivals find themselves outnumbered, not by your voice, but by the voices loyal to your cause. The command is simple: stop trying to carry your reputation alone. Cultivate your pack. Identify allies who can amplify your message. Reward loyalty so it grows. Feed the wolf, and the wolf will defend you when the storm comes. Build the pack. Rule the field. Reputation wars are not games of chance. They are chessboards where every move carries consequences, and the player who thinks further ahead commands the outcome. When you treat social conflict as dice, you gamble with your credibility. When you treat it as chess, you calculate, anticipate, and position yourself to win before your rival knows the match has begun. Strategic foresight has always separated leaders who endure from those who fall. Otto von Bismarck orchestrated alliances like a grand master, predicting the moves of nations decades in advance and unifying Germany under his terms. Theodore Roosevelt, often underestimated at first, mastered timing by striking only when public opinion aligned, ensuring that his reforms were carried forward with overwhelming momentum. Neither man relied on luck. Both studied the board with patience, seeing patterns others ignored, and moved pieces with precision to corner rivals. The lesson is simple: survival favors the strategist who plays 3 moves ahead, not the gambler waiting on chance. Modern life demands the same discipline, though the pieces have changed. The board is no longer filled with kings and bishops, but with narratives, headlines, and perception. Trend tracking is a reconnaissance tool. It reveals the direction the crowd is moving. Sentiment analysis, whether through surveys, conversations, or digital feedback, shows you where allies and enemies gather. Timing your release, whether of information, action, or statement, is equivalent to advancing your queen at the exact moment when the rival's defenses are spread thin. Too early and you appear reckless. Too late and the board is already lost. By mapping narratives, you see which rumors are pawns that can be ignored, which attacks are knights leaping unpredictably, and which assaults are rooks threatening your lines directly. The strategist does not panic at every move. He evaluates, calculates, and responds only when the counterstroke can be decisive. Now imagine yourself standing over this chessboard of life. Each rumor is a piece sliding across the squares. A careless comment by a rival moves like a pawn, small but advancing. A smear campaign emerges as a rook, linear and forceful. Your task is not to chase every piece frantically, but to command the entire board. You anticipate where a pawn will be 3 moves later, and you place your knight there first. You sacrifice what is expendable to protect your king, your core reputation. You position your queen, your strongest narrative, so that one strike changes the entire game. Checkmate is not achieved by accident. It is earned by foresight, discipline, and relentless patience. In practice, this means you do not answer every provocation immediately. You calculate its true weight. You do not reveal every plan openly. You guard your strategy until the moment arrives when it will crush opposition in one move. And when you finally act, you act with such clarity that rivals have no counter. Weak: I didn't see that coming. Strong: I anticipated this. Here is my move. Weak: I'll just react. Strong: I position myself so they must react. The difference is sovereignty over the board versus scrambling as a pawn in someone else's game. The command is clear. Stop gambling with your reputation. Study the patterns. Think ahead. Anticipate the narratives that will rise and position yourself to control them before they form. The player who commands foresight commands victory, because on the chessboard of life, only those who calculate survive. See 3 moves ahead, and the throne is already yours. Gossip is fire, and if your will is fragile, it consumes you. But if your will is forged into iron, rumor burns out the moment it touches you. The ultimate defense in any social battle is not controlling every whisper or correcting every lie. It is becoming immune to their sting, building an inner armor that renders slander powerless. When you no longer react, the flames die in silence, and those who tried to wound you are left holding ashes. History shows how rulers endured not by avoiding insults, but by cultivating resilience to them. The Stoics understood this clearly. Marcus Aurelius wrote that it is not things themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them. He faced endless criticism as emperor, yet his discipline of mind allowed him to treat insults as smoke, present, but without substance. Even leaders in harsher times knew that reacting to every word would make them appear weak. Machiavelli observed that men are quick to forget even grave offenses when no reaction follows. Silence and steadiness became their armor, proof that their authority did not rest on the approval of others. Their will was iron, and iron does not burn. In the modern world, the flames come faster. A rumor can travel through feeds and screens in seconds. An insult can spread before you have time to craft a response. That is why training resilience is not optional. It is survival. Mindfulness sharpens awareness so you can observe attacks without being consumed by them. Exposure to discomfort, whether through physical discipline or controlled challenges, teaches you that pain and insult are temporary waves. Mental rehearsal, imagining slander and rehearsing calm responses, conditions you to hold composure when it truly happens. Weak. I can't believe they said that about me. Strong. Their words are theirs, not mine. Weak. How do I make them stop talking? Strong. I cannot be burned by what does not touch me. The difference is fireproofing your will. Visualize yourself as a sovereign walking barefoot across burning coals. Each glowing ember is a rumor, each flame an insult. The crowd expects you to cry out, to stumble, to prove your fragility. Instead, you move with calm, each step deliberate, each movement steady. The fire touches your skin but does not consume you. By the time you reach the other side, the fire has burned itself out. This is how gossip works. When it meets iron will, it has no fuel if you do not feed it with reaction. It ends not because others stop speaking, but because you refuse to bend. Consider a moment in daily life. Someone repeats a rumor in your presence, watching for your reaction. Weak response, anger, protest, frantic denial. Strong response, steady gaze, calm tone. That is your choice to believe. Nothing more. Your refusal to ignite starves the fire instantly. Others see that you are not shaken. They see that your composure outlives the rumor. That perception becomes your shield, and over time, your reputation grows stronger than any insult. The command is clear. Forge your will until it cannot be bent. Train your mind to see insults as smoke. Expose yourself to discomfort so gossip loses its sting. Rehearse composure until it becomes natural. Build the ritual of resilience daily so that when the fire of rumor arrives, you walk through it untouched. Authority rests not on silencing every voice, but on becoming immune to their flames. The iron and the fire cannot touch you. The highest form of power is not silencing gossip, but becoming so inevitable that gossip cannot touch you. When your presence radiates authority, when your influence extends beyond single conversations or scandals, the whispers lose oxygen. They flare briefly and then die. Because no rumor can topple an institution. To reach this level, you must stop reacting and start orchestrating. You must move beyond defending your reputation to making it untouchable. History proves that certain leaders achieved this state. Their names became larger than any single attack. Franklin Roosevelt faced relentless criticism, yet his presence as the architect of national recovery overshadowed detractors. Nelson Mandela endured smear campaigns during his struggle, but by the time he assumed leadership, his symbolic weight made small attacks irrelevant. Their power was not in perfection, but in scale. They built an image so broad, so institutional, that no one's scandal could define them. Machiavelli warned that men forget personal grievances, but never forget losses to their fortune. Leaders who became bigger than anyone once survived because their legacy outweighed temporary noise. In the modern age, untouchability comes from independence. If you rely on platforms controlled by others, you are vulnerable. A gatekeeper can cut your channel, mute your voice, or distort your message. But when you own your distribution, your platforms, your direct lines to allies and audiences, you cannot be silenced. It might mean building your own newsletter, cultivating a loyal community, or investing in direct channels that no algorithm can fully control. The principle is the same as fortifying supply lines in war. Never allow your rivals or intermediaries to hold your lifeline. Weak. I hope they don't shadow me. Strong. I control my message at its source. Weak. I'll wait for others to share it. Strong. I release it on my own terms. Control distribution, and you remove the leverage others have over you. Now picture the throne above the storm. Below, the battlefield rages. Rumors fly like arrows, accusations strike like lightning, voices clash in chaos. Yet you sit elevated, calm, untouchable. The winds howl but do not reach you. Your presence alone alters the storm, not because you fight every gust, but because you exist above it. This is the state you must seek. When you no longer descend to every skirmish, when your composure shows you are bigger than the chaos, the storm exhausts itself. People stop questioning whether you will survive and start assuming you always will. You will encounter situations where others try to pull you down into the noise. A rival might provoke, hoping you will engage in petty back and forth. Weak response, reacting immediately, trading blows, appearing trapped in the same arena. Strong response. Pausing, then saying, I won't lower my focus. The work speaks louder. In that moment, you deny them the oxygen of attention. You demonstrate that your scale is above their attempt. Others watching recognize it instantly. The untouchable has no need to descend. The command is clear. Build your presence so broad that no single attack defines you. Secure independence over your platforms so no one controls your voice. Elevate your perspective until gossip storms below while you remain above, steady on the throne. The gossip economy feeds on reaction. Refuse to feed it. Become the one who sets the rhythm while others exhaust themselves in noise. Rise above the storm, and the crown is already yours. Power reaches its peak, not when you silence every rumor, but when you transform into a figure so commanding that rumor itself bends around you. The journey through each principle has been about building this state step by step. Discipline of mind, control of mornings, mastery of silence, elimination of gossip, projection of command, preemption of threats, cultivation of allies, strategic foresight, and immunity to fire. All these are not separate techniques, but weapons forged into one arsenal. They converge here in the creation of a sovereign identity, the Shadow King, unseen, yet omnipresent, feared, yet respected. He rules not by chasing whispers, but by commanding the narrative from above. History has always recognized this archetype. Machiavelli's prince was not simply a ruler, he was the orchestrator of perception. He knew that appearances mattered more than truth, because people live by perception. In later centuries, Bismarck maneuvered through Europe with a long-term strategy that shaped not just policy, but entire narratives of national destiny. Leaders like Churchill and Roosevelt carried nations through chaos by framing themselves as the embodiment of endurance. These were not men who lived defensively, responding to every critic. They built institutions of image so strong that no single attack could define them. Their power was not noise, but inevitability. Modern strategists have carried this same principle into the battlefield of media. Consider how certain figures withstand constant attacks and yet remain central. The key is orchestration, not reaction. Some create direct channels, newsletters, podcasts, communities, where their message flows without adherence. Others cultivate networks of allies who defend them faster than any rival can attack. The pattern is consistent. Those who master narrative architecture become unshakable. Their rivals waste energy on daily skirmishes while they play for years. Gossip may surge, but like waves crashing against cliffs, it breaks without altering the stone. Now bring this into your own life. You began as a target, vulnerable to whispers that chipped away at your confidence. Each slight, each rumor, felt like a siege at your gates. But with discipline, you fortified your inner court. You seized the mornings, silenced enemies with stillness, purged tunnels of gossip, and wore the mask of command. You trained the inner assassin, cultivated loyal allies, played 3 moves ahead, and fireproofed your will. Every principle layered onto the next, until you stopped reacting and started ruling. This is the coronation moment, the day you crown yourself sovereign over your own narrative. Visualize the ceremony. The hall is silent except for the echoes of past battles. Once, those whispers were daggers. Now they are nothing but smoke curling upward and vanishing. Before you lies the crown, not handed by others, but forged by your own mastery. You lift it, heavy with the weight of discipline and struggle, and place it upon your head. As you rise, the fortress stands unbroken. The wolves of your pack guard the gates, and the storm outside dies in its own exhaustion. You have become untouchable, not because enemies vanished, but because you outgrew their reach. This transformation does not mean arrogance or cruelty. It means clarity. You do not need to prove yourself in every room because your presence speaks before you open your mouth. You do not descend to gossip wars because you rule from a higher vantage point. You do not waste energy fighting every rumor because you have built a narrative larger than any single story. You are the Shadow King, present everywhere, visible nowhere, respected even by those who whisper your name. When you walk into disagreement, you no longer scramble. A rival may challenge you publicly. Once, you might have defended nervously. Now you hold the silence, then answer with calm inevitability. This is the direction. No wasted words, no frantic justifications. The throne does not explain itself. Others recognize the difference immediately. You have moved from participant to orchestrator, from target to sovereign. The command is clear. Fuse every law into one identity. Think long, strike precisely, reward loyalty, project command, and above all, carry an iron will that makes you immune to fire. Stop asking for validation from the crowd. Start setting the terms that the crowd adopts without realizing. Your reputation is no longer a fragile thing to be protected. It is a fortress, a chessboard, a wolf pack, and a crown, all united under your control. The coronation is complete. You are no longer besieged. You are the architect of perception, the strategist of narratives, the sovereign of your own court. And from this position, you will see that the true victory was never in silencing enemies, but in mastering yourself so completely that their voices no longer matter. Crown yourself, and the whispers die. You stand now at the end of the campaign, and the message is simple. Command the self, command the world. All 7 rules converge into one truth. If you rule your impulses, your mornings, your silences, your networks, your strategy, your resilience, and your mask of command, then no gossip or rival can dethrone you. History confirms it. Leaders who survived intrigue were not those who fought every rumor, but those who built systems of perception, discipline, and foresight that no single attack could crack. Their reign was secured because they first mastered themselves. The 7 rules you have heard are not abstractions. They are practical weapons. Rule 1. Command your inner court, for without mental order, every outside force rules you. Rule 2. Win the morning, because the first hour is the high ground of the day. Rule 3. Weaponize stillness, letting rivals expose themselves while you remain cloaked. Rule 4. Cut gossip at the root, purging the tunnels through which whispers travel. Rule 5. Wear the mask of command, projecting authority even when doubts knock at the door. Rule 6. Train the inner assassin, striking down weakness and framing your narrative before others can twist it. Rule 7. Build the pack, turning allies into loyal amplifiers who carry your voice. Each principle is anchored in history, validated by psychology, and sharpened by practice. Now, immediate action is demanded. Choose one rule and apply it today, not tomorrow. If you live under digital siege, begin with silence, guard your first hour, and starve the algorithms that would script your thoughts. If you struggle with perception, put on the mask, stand tall, speak decisively, and deny weakness a stage. If whispers surround you, eliminate one tunnel block, mute or disengage from a channel that drains your sovereignty. The choice is yours, but it must be made now. Weak: I'll try to remember these rules someday. Strong: I claim one rule today and turn it into action. Strength is built not in theory, but in immediate practice. Visualize the march that follows. You leave the fortress gates at dawn. The banners of your reputation fly high, not because others raise them, but because you forged them yourself. Whispers drift like wind, but they do not touch you. Allies flank your sides. Silence cloaks you when needed, and your mask reflects unshakable command. You are no longer hunted, scrambling in rumor's shadow. You are the sovereign, walking into the battlefield of perception with composure that bends the field to your will. The world sees not desperation, but inevitability. The command is final. Take one weapon from the arsenal you now possess and wield it today. Discipline is not built in theory, but in action. You have heard the strategies. Now you must embody them. Every step you take in sovereignty strengthens the fortress, trains the pack, and raises the throne higher above the storm. Remember this truth: gossip dies where self-mastery reigns. Rule yourself, and no one else can rule you.